Welcome back to the FloTrack podcast. It is Monday, May the 4th. FloTrackPodcast@gmail.com is the email address. You can find all the old episodes on our website, FloTrack.org/FloTrackPodcast. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, etc. I'm Kevin Sully, joined by Gordon Mack. Good morning, Gordon.
Good morning. May the 4th be with you. See what I did there? Today is Star Wars Day. Great day in the world. However, I feel like it's not getting a lot of love because everyone's quarantined. So there's really no reason for people to get excited about like cartoons and comic books and all that stuff. So I think it's a muted Star Wars Day, but it's still Star Wars Day, May the 4th. We had a great Pi Day. That kind of got screwed over by quarantine on March 14th, 3.14. No one was talking about Pi Day. They were all talking about COVID. So all these themes. And then July 6th, that's the best day. July 6th. Do you know what July 6th is?
Is that the 76ers Day?
No, that's July 6th Park. So it's Jurassic Park Day.
Oh, I was doing 7, the month 7, and then 6. And you being a Sixers fan, I put that together in my head.
July 6th it's July 6th Park. So Jurassic Park. So that's when you all talk about the great film franchise Jurassic Park and Jurassic World.
I did not know that was a thing.
There's like this comedy sketch YouTube group that came up with it. They did a bunch of bits around it. It's very funny. I enjoy it. Shout out to them. I forget their name. But Google July 6th Park and you'll stumble upon their YouTube videos. So go for it. But May the 4th be with you is today.
Yeah, and I think people would celebrate it. People would celebrate this by like binging on the Star Wars movies, but I'm guessing everybody's already binged on them because they've probably binged on every other film franchise out there because we're getting down to a couple months here. Saturday unofficially was the return, or wait, yesterday was the unofficial return of Track and Field Day. That's what it was. It was Ultimate Garden Clash Day. That's what I celebrated this weekend. I don't know about you.
Yeah, so the Ultimate Garden Clash. So for those who don't know, what is the Ultimate Garden Clash?
Well, hopefully it's a one-time thing. And I say that not because it wasn't fun, but because it was born out of necessity. 3 pole vaulters, Mondo Duplantis, Sam Kendricks, and Renaud Lavillenie, each vaulted in their backyards. They tried to clear 5 meters as many times as they could in 30 minutes. And we were able to see it via video that they had set up in their backyard. They had really short runways, right? And they didn't have the ability to set the standards that high, right? Because you don't have that many people at your house to do it. So they couldn't do things really where they were knocking over the bar a lot, and they couldn't really go to very high heights. So the 3 of them agreed to compete against one another, and they did it on Sunday morning. And I watched it. I think a lot of other people watched it. I'm not entirely sure how many people watched it, but you got to see some elite athletes do what they do best. It was entertaining for a bit, and it ended in controversy. So that was fun.
I did listen to your podcast because I'm a big fan of the Kevin Lincoln dynamic duo on Friday on a run, and Lincoln was shitting on the idea the entire time. He said this is the stupidest thing ever. It's like what? But he says it's as stupid as watching Timothy Cheruiyot run 4:05 as many times as possible. And I'm like, that would be the coolest thing ever to watch. I'm not gonna lie,
exactly.
to see how many times he can like push himself to like a somewhat fast time. But anyway, he was shitting on the idea the entire time. Like he was like, I'm not gonna watch it. No, I might watch the recap, and was like dunking on you for being excited about a track event. The entire podcast, Lincoln is being a dick. And then look and behold, Sunday morning, I open up FloTrack, and the headline is the Ultimate Garden Clash was fun, quirky, and controversial. And I was like, oh, Kevin probably wrote this. No, it was Lincoln Strike, the biggest hypocrite who was shitting on an event and then live tweeting it with the multiple screenshots. Lincoln, what the hell? You if you're gonna pick a side on hating the event, you gotta stick with it. You can't flip-flop 20 minutes into the event. Anyway, was it fun, quirky, and controversial like Lincoln flip-flopped and became excited about?
I think those are 3 accurate words to describe it. I know you didn't like the horse competition that much. We talked about that when the NBA put on a horse competition because the quality of it was low. I think this, relative to its sport, was better because yeah, vaulting as many times as you can in 30 minutes and only vaulting 5 meters isn't seeing these guys at their best, but you're still getting to see them do it. It's not like a basketball competition where they're doing weird like shots that you never like. There's some fun in just watching Mondo clear a bar, right? Even if he's doing it at a lower height than we know he can do, and even if he's doing it in this rapid fire succession, like that part of it is still fun. And then there was a tie. There was a tie. And there was a lot of controversy, like there is in everything with track and field, about how to resolve the tie. And it ended in one person quitting and no one really knowing what happened next. And that was the very epitome of track and field. So I liked it. It warmed the cockles of my heart to know even in obscure backyard events, we can still do the track thing out there, which is massive confusion and kind of an unsatisfying ending.
When I was listening to the best version of the podcast, which is the Kevin Lincoln version on Friday, when you guys were talking about the garden class, you said it would have been cooler if they did it kind of like a horse competition, but like trick vaults, right? Where you're doing it on a skateboard, or you're doing a backflip, or grabbing a beer midair and drinking it, whatever, doing some crazy things like that. And I wouldn't want that to be like, hey, I do a backflip now, you have to do it. They should just treat it like a slam dunk competition where, like you said, you do a trick and then you have a panel of judges. You can get like a bunch of like pole vaulters and famous people, and they do try to have 50 judges. Zoom call. You can do like 100 people in a Zoom call. You have 5 judges. Boom. 0 out of 10. And it'll be cool to like see that. I mean, again, it's hard because it's not good camera angles, right? Because you only have one laptop camera from far away. But I think you just have to put the camera by the pit, right? So like it has like just a good view of that. And I think that would be cool because it would literally be like a slam dunk competition. You're going high up and you're doing acrobatic movement. Instead of doing an acrobatic movement and putting a ball in a hoop, you're doing an acrobatic movement and putting your body over a bar. It's the same thing. So that's what they should do next. They should turn it into a slam dunk competition.
It was all so Kendricks was out of it early on. He was sitting down in between reps. He had a beautiful backyard though. He was going way over the bar, but was just not keeping up with the frequency of Mondo and Renault. So they go for 15 minutes. And they had a 5-minute break, and they interviewed him during the 5-minute break. And then they did the second half, so the second 15 minutes. And it was hard to tell the score because they were keeping score like on a piece of paper on site, but then also they had the score graphics on the bottom, and those were lagging a little bit. But it ended up tied 36-36, which is, more than one vault a minute. Granted, they had that break in there, but that's pretty crazy if you think about how aerobic that had to be. Renault is just gassed. And I'm giving out spoilers here, folks. So if you haven't watched all the Ultimate Garden Clash seasons 1 and 2, pause this podcast.
The pod, watch it, and then come back.
And so it ended in a tie. Renault was gassed, and then they were trying to figure out what the resolution would be. And at first they said, well, how many misses have you had? And they both said they had 1 miss. So, okay. Then they mentioned, well, who finished their 36th vault first? And Renault did. Mondo got upset and was like, no, you can't change the rules. It was the most in 30 minutes. I think he said that's Bush League. Like, Mondo was fired up. Mondo wanted to win. It was pretty awesome. So then they say, okay, we'll put 3 minutes on. We'll give you a break, and then you'll have 3 minutes. So then they're interviewing Sam Kendricks while they're giving them the break, and then they go back, and then they ask Renault again, hey, you want to do this? And he's like, no, I don't. I'm done. I'm out. And then they're like, okay, so should it be a tie? Meanwhile, Mondo grabbed his pole, ran up, vaulted one more time, and put a 37 on his sheet and held it up to the camera that he should be the winner because he did 37. But that's how it ended. And I thought we wanted a resolution there. Maybe only put 1 minute on the clock. Maybe raise the bar up a little higher, like get it and just do like a sudden, if they make it, they win or something like that. Because I wanted a winner in this Ultimate Garden Clash, Gordon, the first and hopefully the last Ultimate Garden Clash.
But they could have, maybe they should have, instead of using a bar to not have to put the bar back up, they could have just put like that rubber thing. And if the rubber thing moves, it doesn't count. But I guess you can't keep track if you actually touch the rubber thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, so Kendricks never missed. Each of the other guys missed once, and they had to help like put it back themselves. It's not like they had a crew on site. So that definitely took some time
Took
out of it.
time.
I mean,
Yeah.
the ease with which they did it was impressive. And I mean, Renault looked like he got hit by a truck at the end of it. He looked like he had run like the NCAA cross country championships, like in Terre Haute, in the mud. Like his face was just completely
I
gassed.
mean,
And I don't know how
it's like
often they do that.
doing suicides for 30 minutes straight. It's not fun. For those
Yeah.
who don't know,
Well, they had a
suicides is a
break. They
basketball
had a break.
drill, right? But
Yeah.
normally you don't do suicides for 30 minutes or 15 minutes and
Mm-hmm.
then 15 minutes, so. And they're not like
Yeah.
distance runners, so like when you because you're not jogging down the stretch. You have to like
No. Go.
sprint,
Well,
and then you
there.
have to like put all your body, like flex all
Mhm.
your muscles. I don't know what pole vaulters do, but like it takes a lot out of you, I'm guessing.
So they would get their pole and they would walk back, and the runway obviously a lot shorter because their houses aren't that big to accommodate like a full size runway. But there was about 10 seconds left on the clock. Like Renault could have got another one off. Like he walked back, and I was like, oh my gosh, because I at that point it was still unclear what the score was, and I thought, oh, he's gonna get another one. I'm not sure if he knew how much time because he had about 10 seconds, but he was completely out of energy at that point. So they would walk back, but then just go again, and they really wouldn't take that much time back there. Now Kendricks was sitting down a little bit, and he was going at a slower pace, but Mondo and Lavillenie were going pretty nonstop. So it was interesting because it added an endurance component into a non-endurance event. It had been like, okay, Lincoln's example was bad because like, well, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't the best example because the 1500 is already an endurance based event with Chariot. It would have been more analogous to having like Christian Coleman or Shelley and Fraser Price see how many times they can run the 100 in a half hour under, like how many times can Coleman run the 100 under 11 seconds in a half hour, right? And he can just go whenever he wants. That's I think a better comparison to what it is, because you're not, when you think pole vault, yeah, by the end of the competition it gets tiring, but like how many jumps is Mondo taking in a whole competition? How much break is he getting in between jumps? Completely different than what he was doing in his backyard.
Yeah. Well, screenshots. They talked about it was on the bottom ticker of ESPN.
I saw it,
and
it said
ESPN.
tied for first. It said tied for first.
Yeah, I was like, wow, like clearly it is for ESPN to like take some time and like have someone type up that ticker. They're really searching for sports. I mean, ESPN doesn't really put track and field up. If this happened in the middle of like NBA playoffs, I highly doubt ESPN would have been like, oh, by the way, there was this Garden Clash featuring these pole vaulters. So, but
I just thought it was hilarious. They put a tied for first M Duplantis R reveal. Like someone took the time. They're like, all right, guys, what sports are there out there today going on? They're like, all right, well, in Belarus they're playing soccer, and in 3 different locations they're pole vaulting. Okay, cool. Yeah, type that up and put it on during the. You saw that during the Last Dance, I'm assuming.
Yeah, great episode. Great episodes once again. Last Dance. I want to make this a Last Dance podcast, but we can't because Michael Jordan didn't play track. He played basketball, and we're a track podcast. Oh, what?
It's true.
There was another track competition that went down. This was a personal track competition. My girlfriend JoJo and her friends had a virtual beer mile, and we did it outside our apartment. We mapped out an alleyway, and then like it turned and went down a side street. So we made it like a little 400-meter loop, and then we got the Zoom call going, and there was like friends from like Louisiana, New York City. So they were the ones who were breaking rules, and all over, right? And one of the friends' dad was there, and they live in Louisiana, so he had a shotgun. So he was the timer. So he fired the shotgun in the air to like cue the beer mile. And one of my former college teammates, Elizabeth Lassiter, who's actually a top 20 beer miler all time. She competed at the World Championships twice. She was there, so she was running with JoJo. I did not partake. I was filming, but she ran a 6:37 beer mile in the streets, road beer mile, which is pretty good. JoJo ran 9:50.
JoJo did?
No,
Oh,
the good beer mile ran 6:37. JoJo ran 9:50.
I was gonna
It's
say I'm kind of worried about JoJo if she's running that fast doing a beer mile. We
yeah.
need to talk. We need to have intervention.
But it was fun. It was but this is the story behind it. So we're doing this event. We're having fun, but like in the middle, like they're on like lap 3 or 4. This couple, both wearing like major like masks, like walking
Hmm.
down this alleyway, gave the ultimate stern look at us for not social distancing good enough, and it was kind of funny. Anyway, that's my story. There was only 4 of
It's
us. It
hard.
wasn't like a big. It was 4 of us drinking beers. It was fine, but anyway.
Well, you live together too, right?
Yes,
So
and 2 people who live
well,
together. So really, it was only two groups together. So it's not like it was spreading massively. But
it's
it was a
hard to
track event
discern
that
people's.
happened.
It's hard to discern people's looks when they're wearing masks. I've noticed that too, because sometimes I'm smiling underneath the mask, and I don't. People don't know that, right? They could just be like judging it based on my eyes, and maybe my eyes are doing like weird, like things like this. And they're thinking, "Wow, that guy's being real judgy," and I'm like, "No, no, I'm actually not." Like, I want to be able to have like a button where I can adjust my expression. People can see I am neutral. I am
Well,
angry. I am
they need to
disappointed.
make clear masks is what they need to make, see-through masks.
Okay, that's
That's
probably an
what they need.
easier way to do it. I like my
Yeah.
idea with the button. If someone's shaking their head, then it's a problem. Okay, so I gave you the opportunity to talk about Last Dance, and you went right past it. You went right on to beer miles in an
Well,
alley.
I
Did
had to
you
talk
want
about
to
another
talk
track
about?
event. I had to talk about another track
Okay,
event. It was a good one. We had a
is there
6:37
any
beer
running
miler.
tie-in? Is there any
So
running
Last Dance.
tie-in to Last Dance?
Yes, Last Dance. You watch it. It was not the best
Mm-hmm.
of the 6 so far, but uh, they
Ooh,
talked
oh,
about
I don't know, man. That Kukoc stuff was good. The Kukoc stuff was
that
good.
was good. The best line was when Charles Barkley called him Kook Coke. I thought that was the funniest thing because no one knew how to say his name right. Uh,
Yeah.
but there was a scene where they talked about Michael Jordan's process for deciding on what shoe to sign with, and how he didn't want to do
Yeah.
Converse because he wanted to stand out and be on his own, which I thought was interesting because Converse was by basically all the other athletes. He wanted to do
Mm-hmm.
Adidas, but Adidas couldn't make a good shoe for him. And so Nike, he did
Whoops.
not want to go to Nike.
Whoops.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I know, right?
Whoops.
Whoops. He went to Nike, and he was like, Nike was just a small track shoe. Like I was just
Mm,
like when you think of Nike now, I mean, obviously Nike's foundation and origins is around running, right? Because that's what started,
mm-hmm.
right? But if you ask anyone right now in the year 2020, they probably don't think of running first when you think of Nike. When they think of Nike, they probably think of just major sports and like superstars and basketball because now it's a
Mm-hmm.
billion-dollar brand. And track isn't a billion-dollar industry. It's not. So therefore, it's not going to be marquee. But I thought it was interesting that Jordan basically was like kind of like dunking on Nike, being like, I don't want to do this. And it took his mom to be like,
Mm-hmm.
no, you're going to hear him out. You're going to fly there. And he did not want to do it. And because his mom forced his son to do this, Nike went from just being a small track company to now a global empire, you know, like and
Mm-hmm.
what
Yeah.
for what it all is, which I think is kind of wild that it was a basketball player's mom that changed the course of Nike. Like who would have thought,
Yeah.
right?
What I remember in that there's that scene in Without Limits, I think, and they had people who knew things about running consulting on that movie, so it wasn't an accident where they have a close up of everybody's shoes and they're like panning across the starting line, and it's all Adidas at that time, right? And that's in the 70s. It's like Adidas, 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 and then obviously we know with Bill Bowerman, then Nike gets into that game. But yeah, they were late. Like they haven't been a player this whole time. Then there was the whole controversy, which we've seen in track, right, of covering up the logo because he's getting his gold medal. Reebok was the Olympic sponsor. He puts the American flag over the Reebok logo, which I mean, two massive corporations like fighting over who gets a little bit of real estate on someone's jersey has never been that interesting to me at all. But I did like, was it Marv Albert's commentary at the time was like, he's Michael Jordan walking out and he getting a flag, but not for patriotic reasons or something like that. Like he knew
I,
what was up.
I do have a controversial take on the whole, like, because the whole sponsorship, like, and especially is a big controversial deal with the Olympics and the Olympic trials. You know, Nick Simmons is trying to put tattoos on himself, so he has to cover up the tattoos. You see a
Mhm.
lot of like these New Balance women put their shoes around their neck to make sure that the shoes are in the photos or in the
A lot
post
of people do
interview.
that now.
Yeah,
Yeah, a
not a lot
lot
of
of people
people
do
do it
that
now.
now.
Yet, yeah, the whole thing when Wazell photoshopped out the Nike logo to be the individual logos of all the sponsors at the World Relays. There's just a lot of different like controversies around sponsorship, brands, and global championships, right? And
Yeah.
everyone is the correct side says, or like the good side is all about being player runner empowerment and being like, hey, these people need opportunities to the brands invest on them. They should be allowed to thank their brands and give the brands exposure. That's, I guess, the right thing to say, right? Because it's like, yeah, they're the Nike's not paying Emma Coburn, New Balance is, so New Balance should get credit for Emma's victories, not Nike. And I get
Hmm.
it, and I do believe that is important. However, I think this whole controversy, we're self-creating the controversy. And by that I mean, why is it most important for Emma Coburn to talk about New Balance at the Olympic stage and at the global stage? Why is that most important? It's because we designed a sport that said nothing else matters except the global stage and the Olympic stage. And I think we basically have decided as a group that our sport only matters at these highest levels. And therefore, we're saying that our sponsors only matter at that highest level. Because think about this. Do you like there's a lot of other sports out there. LeBron James doesn't look at competing at the Olympics as the highest level. He looks at competing in the NBA finals at the highest level in his sport. So his sponsor needs to make sure that he is well represented at the NBA finals. They don't need to make sure he's well represented at the Olympics because the Olympics is kind of like a and I think basically I look at it like this.
Well, but why do
The
they care so much then?
what do you mean?
Why did they care so? Why did Jordan and Nike care so much in '92 at the Olympics? They
I,
had they had the stage.
Jordan was the
He was
only
back to back shape.
yeah, but Jordan was the only one that cared. There's 12 guys on the team. They're not all Reebok guys.
Well, a lot of them. Well, but he was the title Nike guy, so he can't. He's
Yeah,
basically
but I
saying
mean,
I can't get photographed at this big global moment where a lot of people are tuning in all across the world in this Reebok suit. Even though I think where their jerseys were champion, but I guess people
yeah,
didn't really care
care
about
about that.
the jerseys.
But
Yeah,
what I'm trying to say
I don't
is
know.
like
What are you trying to
I
say,
think
Gordon?
Jordan's more of a one-off. What I'm trying to say is we are giving the IOC and the global level so too much power. And by power I mean is we're saying we only matter in their world because we are going to complain. And it's like, do you know how you can make that not matter? We need to create a sport that doesn't rely on a dictatorish IOC conglomerate to like control our importance. Like we need to make the Olympics not be the most important thing in our sport. The same way the Olympics is not the most important thing to a football player, a basketball player, a baseball player, a hockey player. It's not. The most important thing is their season and their actual what they do. But we decided that we can't create a world where our normal season is more important than the Olympic season. Like every other, how many sports? Like you know what I mean? Like what's more important to a cyclist? Winning the Tour de France or winning the Olympic event? Winning the Tour de
Mm-hmm.
France because that's more important. Like, what's more important to Tiger Woods? Winning a PGA Tour or the Masters or winning the Olympic event? Winning like
Mm-hmm.
Olympic is just like, and that's what we need to do. We need to create a track world where it's more important that they succeed at the Diamond League level, at these other events that we can create, these, other pseudo invitationals and championships. and not make the Olympics. But the Olympics are cool. Yeah, we should still have them, but we should be able to create a sport where the Olympics is icing and not the cake. You know, I feel like the IOC is like that girl that we fell in love with that doesn't love us back, and we keep on
Careful,
complaining
careful,
that she
Gordon.
doesn't,
Careful.
and we keep on complaining that she doesn't love us. This is like, hey man, you got to
Yeah.
realize the girl doesn't like you anymore. Move on, right? And that's what the IOC is like. I think these athletes need to realize the Olympic world, the Olympic concept doesn't love you back. It doesn't love everyone that's not Nike. So you need to figure out ways to move on and make the most valuable thing about you not the Olympics. The most valuable thing about you should be your talent. And that's what does that make sense? What I'm trying to say?
You went from revolutionary Gordon to forgetting Sarah Marshall Gordon there in the span of a minute and a half. That was impressive. I like the road that you traveled, but isn't a lot of this stuff just endemic? Anytime there's going to be national teams and world championships would be the same problem because one sponsor
Yeah.
would get the contract to. I'm like I said before, I don't like this stuff. Is just it's one shoe company that makes a whole bunch of money and has a whole bunch of power versus other shoe companies that have. I mean, I'm not talking about the very very small players, of which there are some out there, but Adidas is making money, right? Asics sponsors World Athletics now. Like I have a hard time of all the things in the world getting too opinionated or too upset about it. I remember there was a basketball. Was it recently when they stand up for the photo, the U.S. team, like certain guys have their shoes blocked out because they're with a certain brand. Like they'll put the coach in front of them or something, and they'll angle their body in a way so that way they're like not seen in certain
Yeah.
pairs of shoes. Like all this stuff. I like who like did anybody think Jordan was sponsored by Reebok? I don't know what's the tangible difference there. Oh my gosh, he's wearing a Reebok shirt. Like when I see,
Well,
I don't know when
think about
I
this.
just
You
I
get more. You get it's a. I mean, it's more popular. Like controversy breeds exposure, right? So that's why it also helped with exposure. It's like a commercial writes itself. It's a free commercial. It's free press.
but also didn't more people then find out about Reebok sponsoring these Olympic warm-ups because of it? I don't know. Like I get it. There was a thing with Jordan, and they haven't talked about it in the doc where they weren't allowed to wear the all black shoes and they banned them, and then he wore them anyway, and Nike agreed to pay the fine because it was just such great exposure because they're like, wow, these shoes are being banned by the NBA. Like I get that when it's like the power structure versus the shoe that the guy wants to wear, but one brand versus another, I don't know. It's hard for me to form a strong opinion about that. I know today's May the 4th. We talked about it
Well,
at the beginning.
I
Do you
just
want
want
to
to say,
talk about Star Wars?
can you? I will, but can you imagine a world where we are a track world where the most important thing isn't making a national team? The most important thing is winning your individual like championships, like where we.
No, I can't.
But like that's
I
how
don't
it
think it's
is
gonna
in
happen.
almost all. But that's how it is in most sports. That's how it is in
Well, that's
golf.
how it is in that's how it is in the marathon because you can have one. Well, I guess the Olympic marathon is still bigger, but like the World Championship marathon versus the London marathon,
Yeah,
you poll all the best marathoners in the world and say which would you rather win, London or the World Championships or Boston the World Championships? They're all going to say the major marathon. So yeah, it exists
and
in that, but in the context of an entire huge track meet, it's always going to be this one big show that's tied to nations. And I shouldn't say always. That's how it is now. Look, we're talking about this thing how in 1984 Nike was this plucky upstart and Converse was on top of the heap. What's to say in 20 years is not going to be somebody else who's there,
yeah.
Uh,
I just
it's
think
not like Nike's going to be there forever.
succeed, we need to find a way to make not making it the non Team USA aspect of it more important than the Team USA aspect. Because that's how it is in tennis.
Yeah.
That's how it is in golf. That's how it is in basketball, baseball. That's how it is in all the sports that are succeeding. The sports that don't succeed are the sports that rely on nationalism as the primary source. Because with nationalism
Yeah.
comes this like restrictive sponsorships and all this stuff, and it takes away it takes away your name, right? You become Team USA and not Team Emma Coburn, right?
Right.
Whereas,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
says
Which is
LeBron James on his
that's what
jersey, right?
Right. That's what drives interest, but that also limits your exposure because then you're expendable. You're just the next person in that Team USA jersey. And then 4 years later it's this person and then it's more assembly line. Yeah, that's absolutely right. Okay, so we went back to Revolutionary Gordon there by the end of the segment. I was a little worried there when we got Jason Siegel Gordon going on there. All right. Well, I introduced it too soon, but you wanted to talk. It's May the 4th. Now, Star Wars Day. You sent a thing from what is this, 2015?
Yeah.
When Star Wars casted with track stars. Do you want to update this now that it's 2020 with different people?
Well, my first question we'd ask: have you seen Star Wars?
I have seen obviously the old three a long time ago. Uh, I probably saw one of the next three that came out, like Phantom Menace or something, a really, really long time ago. Once I got Disney Plus, shout out to my kids, I had the ambition of watching all of them, and I consulted with Star Wars experts, and I said, "What's the proper order to watch them in?" And he gave me the order, and the first one was Rogue One, and I watched it. I thought it was good. I couldn't tell you really anything about it anymore, but it was entertaining. It was fun. And then from there, they went into the older ones, and I watched the first older one, and I was like, oh, okay, this is fine. And then now we're stuck for the last 2 months midway through the second older one. There's just a lot of lasers and stuff. And when you go from the old to the new to the old looks really old. So I
Wait,
know the
hold on.
general
What
beat.
do you mean what do you mean you're stuck?
We stopped it there because I probably fell asleep and we never restarted it. And this was like 3 months ago. So I disappointed my friend. He went through all this time to come up with this order for me. And then I'm like 25% of the way through. So,
So you were supposed to watch like 10 to 11, 12 movies, and you only watch like
well,
two of them?
no. So I've watched two and a half. If you listen to what I said, I've listened two and a half. He took out the, he took out the prequels because he said they were so bad. He's like, don't watch the, like, I wouldn't recommend them. Right. So he's like, don't do any of those. The three, you know which one I'm
Yeah,
talking about? Is that
yeah, yeah,
episodes
yeah,
four,
yeah.
5, and 6? Yeah, yeah. So I don't know, however many that is. 9 movies, 8 movies, whatever. Yes, I'm a bad friend. I can't commit to things. There was just it's a long. Some of those are long. Some of those are very,
Yeah.
very long. Maybe I'll do it, but that shouldn't deter anybody else from being excited about this. And one of those people is
Maybe you have
you.
to
So
wait
I
till
want you to.
you just have to wait till your kid's old enough to maybe enjoy it, and then you can watch it with him. I don't know.
Yeah, just that's some of that stuff though. The old ones, it didn't. The graphics are
Doesn't
just
age
so
well.
different.
Yeah.
And like so obviously Harrison Ford, good actor, right? And you watch him now and you're like, oh, he's still a good actor. You watch Mark Hamill, solid. I felt like though the threshold to be the third or fourth best person in like the the B level people, the C level people back in the day was a lot lower than it is now. Because I think now to get in any sort of movie, you have to be pretty good. But some of the acting from like the lower tier people, the very very minor people, is pretty bad there too. So that didn't age as well either. It's like I am going to protect the spaceship, and it's like okay, are you just like the director's cousin or something? Like how did you get this job? That's the other thing
So
that
you
stood out to me. But
so you're saying the evolution of the depth of acting talent from the past to the present is the same
yes,
evolution of the depth of like what it takes to make the 4x4 team from the 80s 70s to all the way to the 2000s, because if you think about it, there's a
yep,
lot of guys who are 45-second runners on Texas A&M who are like their eighth best runner, and if you were a
yep.
45-second runner in the 90s, you're the number one, you're the anchor.
Or a 207 marathoner back in the day, 209 marathoner. You were the bee's knees, and now you're just another person. That is exactly right, and I'm glad you got that track tie in there because that's exactly how I felt when I was watching. I'm like, look at all these 208 marathoners out here getting parts on Star Wars. Okay, so in 2015, you guys had Eric Jenkins was Luke Skywalker. Bold,
Yeah,
very
he was
bold.
like he was the hot young blonde guy at the time, right? You know, is he blonde? I think he's blonde. By hot
Yeah,
young blonde, you know what I mean? Like
you want
hot
to
as
try
in
that
like
again?
he was winning races. He was young. He was in college. He was like, I think this is coming off of when he won the 3K and 5K indoors. He was running. He was side by side with Cheserek. So he was like
Mm-hmm.
he's in the know at the time. Uh, and Nick Simmons, we had his Han Solo, who was,
Mm-hmm.
that makes sense, right? The marquee suave guy, and then we just put
Okay.
Princess Diana was not Princess Diana, Princess Leia
Princess
was Kara,
Leia.
Princess Kara, because we had just done a film on her, so we were like, she's the princess. But yeah, so
Okay.
Jenkins was Skywalker, Kara Goucher was Princess Leia, and Nick Simmons was Han Solo. It's 2020 though. We probably need to recast that. What do you think? Right?
Yeah. So Skywalker, Princess Leia, and Han Solo all working together in some form or fashion. I mean,
So
who do you have here?
I think I would sub out Princess Kara with Princess maybe Colleen or Princess Shelby or Princess Emma.
Okay.
One of those
Okay.
three. They can have a race. We can have them all race a 5K, so we can finally get Emma Coburn to run a 5K because she's never run a 5K. So they can
That's
have
the whole point of this podcast now.
the Princess Leia 5K, where the winner becomes the new Princess Leia because Kara's retired. So that's what we'll do
Okay.
with one of those three. Han Solo. Right now it's Nick Simmons. Nick is going to try to hold on to that with his YouTube career, right? Trying to keep his name in the limelight. But who's like the Han Solo? I mean, it's like the very like.
Is it Bernard
I mean, is
Lagat?
that like no? Is that Craig Engels?
No, Engels is way too much of a wild card. What was I don't know. You got to fill me in
Well,
here.
Han
Was
Solo shot first, didn't he? Wasn't that the whole thing?
okay. See,
Han
this is
Solo
where my
is
knowledge.
the guy, but Han Solo is like he's like a I don't know the story behind it. People who are listening who are big Star Wars fans are probably screaming right now, throwing their phone against
They've
the
already
wall. But
stopped.
he was like
Yeah.
he was like he like stole things, right? He was like a grifter, right? He would go and like steal
Okay.
things. He stole, right? And he was a wild card. He had the Millennium Falcon. He was like all over the place.
Okay.
I think
Okay.
Craig
So I
Engels
take
makes
it back.
sense.
I was thinking more along the lines of veteran, and that's why I
No,
thought
no,
a guy who'd been around. So that's why I was thinking Legat. But maybe we can
no.
put Legat somewhere else. Um. Okay. Engels. Engels. I mean,
So I think
Centro
Engels
is
is
kind
Han
of
Solo.
Centro is kind of a wild card though too.
So
Andy's
I
a little a
Central
little older.
maybe. I like Central should be. It's between. We'll have the Han Solo 800. Well, Centro and Engels will run an 800. This is a great track meet. We're gonna do this quarantine style. Put it on Zoom. It's gonna be great. But we'll have Engels and Centro duke it out for the Han Solo of the 2020s, and then
Can I pick a
Luke Skywalker.
non-distance person? Yeah, can I pick a
Okay, yeah, yeah,
non-distance or mid-distance person?
yes, yeah, yeah,
Uh, I mean, how about Noah Lyles
yeah.
for Skywalker?
Ooh, I do like that. That is good. See, no, no. Here's my thing though. I was thinking that CP30 and R2D2, that would be Noah Lyles and Grant Holloway. That dynamic duo. Because we didn't get to see them together in Florida, but I think they're both a very like fun like they're the personality of the track world right now in Holloway and Lyles, and I think they would be the comic relief because that's what CP30 and R2D2 do. They're comic relief. So I think they actually might be better to be the two robots.
See, I'd throw it. I'd obviously remember the Ben Blankenship Grant Holloway interaction at USA's. That was pretty classic. And he said Blankenship said he's helping him work it on his finish. Let's. I mean, if Angles isn't being used, well, wait, we already as Han Solo. I mean, what if we just totally mash it up there and go a distance sprint crossover or distance hurdle crossover and like Holloway, Angles, C3PO, and R2D2. That could
I
be
like
good,
that.
right?
We're basically
Okay.
creating a
I
great casting pool, and then we'll put together the feature film in a Netflix series coming soon to a computer screen near you. So
I just I think I like Lyles as Skywalker just because he's coming into his own, right? He's coming into his own, and um, he finally, like in Doha, everything came together for him. Um, harnessed his powers fully. I don't know a ton about Star Wars. I got to be honest. I'm really stretching here. All the words. Help me
Harness his
out, Gordon.
powers. I don't know. Okay, I'll give you. We'll have Lyles as Skywalker. I do think Grant Holloway should be one of the robots.
Okay.
So yeah. Okay. So who is Chewbacca? So Chewbacca is going to be is like the hairy man. Who's the one with lots of hair? I mean, in 2015 we
That's
had
their
Will Lear,
distinguishing character.
the
That's their
hairy man.
distinguishing characteristic. It's NAU, the
2015
entire NAU team.
Yes, I think that's a good one. NAU. That'll be good. The entire NAU. But who from the NAU team most? I mean,
Can we make it a composite character? I don't know. I like how Chewbacca's distinguishing feature is just that he's hairy. There's nothing about his personality or his motivations. It's just the hair. That's it.
maybe. I mean, this is an athlete that most people aren't like. It's not like a household name yet. He was part of the NAU doc, but Theo Quacks, uh, he has the personality that's very like entertaining, and I mean he's from
Is he?
He's from New Zealand, I believe. Yeah, he's from New Zealand,
Mm-hmm.
so like he's like he has like a wild like perspective of like the American culture, and he was the most entertaining athlete when we were filming that, and he's got the long hair. I think he'd be great for a Chewbacca role. We're like this. We're casting him because he's going to be like the person to be like, wow, I can't believe they casted Theo Quacks in that movie. Because when you see like a super famous
Wow.
actor.
Tons of shade on Theo Quacks. I think
No,
he
no,
was ready
no.
for
It's
this. You put him up
it's
there
not
with
shade.
Lyles and everybody.
It's not shade. It's complimented. A lot of times every movie picks a few roles to give it to like the newcomer. So therefore, like
Okay.
down the line when they become super famous, it's like, oh wow, this is where they got their start. I think Theo, who's going to be a redshirt sophomore next year, by the time he's a senior, he will have joined the ranks of like the other great NAU guys. It just takes some time to get there. I mean, he ran 13:55. His dad, Dick Quacks, is a world record holder, so like he has it in his blood. He has it in the genes. So I want to go with Theo Quacks for Chewbacca.
We're obligated to mention NAU every podcast too, so that we can check
Yes.
that box and move on. You guys had back in 2015, you had Darth Vader as Rupp, which I'm guessing you're gonna probably just keep that. Is he the only one who kept his role? This is a good Photoshop job, by the way, back in 2015 with Adam O with the mask on. It's pretty well done there.
See, the thing, I like it. It makes sense, right? But Rupp doesn't have like the like. He's not like he's not like vocally trying to destroy people.
Mm-hmm.
He just goes out and runs, right? He doesn't have the
Yeah.
personality of like trying to murder and like take over the world. Like he's not in the public eye vocally. So I feel like we might need to recast it. Who's like in the public eye vocally that we could say
in
is
track?
always
I don't know.
in track?
I mean,
could you say it's someone like I don't know.
There aren't like
Salazar?
track is pretty. Well, yeah, you guys had Salazar as the Jedi Master.
Yeah, which is probably bad.
Obi. You had Obi-Wan. Well, yeah, you had. Wait, hold on.
We had Obi-Wan Kenobi as Salazar, which that should not be Salazar. That should be Mike Smith, and Yoda should still be Mark Wetmore. So that's good. So Mike Smith is the Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Yoda is Mark Wetmore. Would you agree with that?
Well, but Mike Smith is Rupp's coach now, so I don't think that would work.
Well, yeah, but then didn't they have
is Obi-Wan Kenobi consulting Darth Vader? Or you're moving Rupp off Darth Vader?
Yeah, we're moving Rupp off. We're making Darth Vader Salazar. Darth Vader Salazar. Obi-Wan Kenobi is Mike Smith, and Yoda is Mark Wetmore.
Okay, so you're keeping Wetmore there.
Yeah, because Wetmore, he's the, the age and the wisdom,
Okay. Do you want to run through these again now that we've got them all the way thing? So here, Luke Skywalker.
No allows. We're doing no allows for Luke Skywalker. Princess Leia is going to decide in the Princess Leia 5K between Emma Coburn, Shelby Houlihan, and Colleen Quigley. And then Han Solo is Craig Angles.
Craig Engels. Okay,
Chewbacca
and Chewbacca,
is every NAU athlete composite in one form. So he's just a
or
lumberjack.
or
Or
or Welcome to the Big Leagues, Theo Quacks. You get
welcome
to
to the
join the
big.
stars. Yeah.
Yes, welcome to the big
Uh,
leagues.
C3PO. So wait, you had Angles as Han Solo or Centro as Han Solo?
Oh, Centro's Han Solo. Apologize. So that
Okay.
means
Okay,
Angles
and
is um
C3PO?
C3PO and R2D2 is Grant Holloway.
Okay, very good. And then you had Obi-Wan Kenobi and Yoda. Who
That's
had that?
Mike Smith and Mark Wetmore, and then Salazar is Galen Rupp. I mean, Salazar is Darth Vader. Excuse me.
Okay.
And then yeah. Oh, who'd you say is Lando Calrissian?
Remind me what he does again, Gordon. Just say, for example, I didn't know who he was. Give me some
Well,
traits.
again, if you're a big Star Wars fan, you should probably throw away your
Uh-huh.
phone right now because you're gonna hate what if I'm just a casual Star Wars watcher. He's like just another he's like a cool. He's like the same
Is
thing
he a
as like a
coach or an
Han
athlete?
Solo. He's an athlete. He's like a veteran athlete. He's like a Bernard Lagat. That's
Okay.
who he is. He's Bernard Lagat.
Or
So
like a
yeah,
Des Linden.
yeah, Des Linden. And then
Okay.
Boba Fett. That's like the person who's like a killer, like a robot killer.
Mm.
So who's like a
Ooh.
killer? I mean,
Well, Safan
who's
Hassan
always
killed
like
a lot of people's dreams.
That's
I
true.
mean, 15, 10,
Uh,
15, 10K double. That's pretty potent. Uh, Donovan Brazier crushed people. Timothy
yeah,
Chariot
Brazier.
crushed a lot of people. Um, I'm obviously thinking of on the track people who
Yeah.
were
I,
out
I mean,
for
this
were out for total destruction.
I like all those names. One name who I mean, he is a killer sometimes, but he's definitely a killer in interviews. I'm gonna go with Fred Curley.
Okay.
You know, he took
Okay.
down Michael Norman. I mean,
Yeah.
he and Curley has like that killer mentality. I feel like so I might go Boba
Okay.
Fett is Fred Curley.
No such thing as a PR. Boba Fett and Fred Curley. I don't even know like Boba if you told me that person is a Star Wars character, I would not even know who that is. So
Yeah, just because you only watch 2.5 of like 30. So
well, and back in the day, I watched all three. I'm gonna Google, but I'm gonna see if I know what Boba Fett even looks like.
he's like in
Oh, do you even? Oh, you
you
don't
don't
even
see
see
his
his
face. I
face.
don't think. Yeah,
Oh, Mandalorian armor. There we
yeah, he's
go.
the
Yeah, genetic
Mandalorian.
clone of his father, bounty hunter Jango Fett. Boba learned combat and martial skills from a young age. Okay, well, who was really good at a young age, or who had
Um,
a prominent father or mother in track? I don't know.
I mean
Yeah,
Centro.
but we
I
can't
mean
put
we had
Centros. Yeah.
yeah. Centro was originally cast as that too, as
Oh,
Boba
he
Fett.
was. So you guys did a good job back in 2015.
So yeah, he's good at a young
Maybe we just made
age.
this worse.
Got the father. Yeah. Maybe
Maybe
we
we
are.
just made this worse.
This is the remake that doesn't need to be a remake, and everyone says why did they remake it, like the Fantastic Four and all that stuff. So, yeah, maybe we should stay away from this.
Yeah.
But it's
All
May
right. Anything
4th.
else? It
It's
is
May
May
4th.
4th.
It's quarantine. There's no sports. We're going to do a Star Wars themed episode. We just have to. I mean, we don't have much content, so when we do a daily podcast, you got to do that. So,
And it gives an opportunity for you to create a cool Photoshop. So
yeah.
I'm looking forward to
Oh,
that. Um,
we got to do that. Dang it. Okay.
well, people have already seen it by now because they're listening to the episode. And if you didn't do one, they're gonna be really disappointed when it just is a generic photo of like Shelby Houlihan on one part of the screen and Grant Holloway on the other part. So sorry, man, you did this to yourself. Can I read one email before we go?
Or do you want to save it for tomorrow? Save it for tomorrow. Or is it
Well, I think
timely?
is it you and Lincoln tomorrow, or is it me and?
It's you and Lincoln.
Yeah, I'll save it for tomorrow. That's fine.
Yeah, save
It's
it.
not urgent. It's not Star Wars. We're probably going to get all sorts of Star Wars hate mail. But look, I did not profess to be any bit of an expert. I had ideas for the show. Okay, my 2 ideas, which Gordon did not like, which maybe we'll do on the future podcast, was Instagram trivia, where I read a caption and Gordon tries to guess who it was. And I also had runners as television shows, which I would do a lot better at than runners as Star Wars characters.
We still do those ideas. We have time. So,
do you want to see if you can guess one of these?
Sure. Just do one for a preview,
okay.
And then we'll do a full episode on it later.
Okay, I'll do. Okay. Well, okay. This one is from March. This one's from March.
Okay.
I went back into the archives for a lot of these.
Okay.
It features a photo of this athlete draped in the American flag. Caption is, "And still raining." REIGNING. Hashtag Tokyo 2021.
And still raining. Hashtag Tokyo 2021. Oh, Centro.
Correct. See, you would have done that well here, and you didn't want to do it. Here, I'll hold it up for the screen.
One for one. One for one.
Do you want one more?
Are you still raining
One
though?
more.
If it's been 5 years, I guess.
Yeah, because it's Olympic. You're the reigning Olympic champion. Yeah.
Yeah, but I just feel like you should say the 2019 person is really the reigning champion.
No, they're the reigning world champion. You're not the look. You've established this early on in the podcast when you're Revolutionary Gordon. Oh, people care about the Olympics. This is a good one. You may not be able to get this one, but we've mentioned this person's name on this show, and this is the reason why I wanted to start this, because I thought this one was good. My current Sunday routine: hill sprints, takeout brunch, nap, Netflix, PM run, Instagram live at 6:30, margaritas and dinner. Happy day, smiley emoji.
One more time.
My current Sunday routine: hill sprints, takeout brunch, nap, Netflix, PM run, IG live at 6:30, margaritas and dinner. Happy day. And then there's a bunch of hashtags, but it takes away the mystery of who it is.
Emma Coburn?
How'd you know?
Am I right? Yes!
Yeah.
Hill sprints was confusing because I was like, hill sprints, is that like a, what are you doing? You're surprised.
She did you could have done really well in this game.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like she's done Instagram Live a couple times. I don't follow her or anything, but I just feel like, and then margaritas was like, okay, it's going to be a female. Yeah. So then I was like, okay.
Wait, I drink margaritas. I'm not, people drink margaritas from both genders, Gordon. Jeez.
Have you ever tweeted that you drink margaritas in a caption? No, you haven't.
That's just because I don't post about necessarily about that.
Anyway, I'm 2 for 2. I'm going to go out on top. I'm going to retire.
Hold on, one more. You got to go. Here we go. Oh. What's up, world? No, just kidding.
What's up, world?
I was just gonna pick the most generic one and be like, "Hey, how can you not get that? Great run today." Paul Chalimo, this is not related to this, but someone find me a race before I lose my mind. Plants are growing in my favorite Nike spikes. Struggle is real. And he took a picture of his shoes, and inside he put like some like a little bit of a plant coming out of them. So
it's like in the movie WALL-E with the little shoe and the little thing.
It's growing. Yeah, he's got to lace him up. All right, that's it. That was a wildly successful show. Some say might even been as good as Gordon and Lincoln's NAU all-time top 7 show, although we'll leave it to the listeners to decide that one.
Just fast forward to the second half.
FloTrack podcast at gmail.com, FloTrack.org/FloTrack podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Stitcher, etc. Thanks to Alon for producing. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow.